And obviously we have like a little bit of a variety of things. I know Kirsten is a little bit more B2B than most of us probably. You know, you're more from a creator side and also like general TikTok too, right? And then, you know, Gili she works a lot with tech stuff, tech startups, and where did Jamey? Oh, there. And you know, Jamey, he just crushes everything, honestly. So then it's me.
Thanks.
Yeah, so kind of like that. I mean, I know I have some questions about organic because like my organic isn't that great. I can do ads, but that's about it.
So do you want to start maybe by like a quick intro? We can each introduce ourselves quickly.
Yeah, let's do that. A couple of people join now. Let's start ladies first. Gili and then Kirsten maybe.
Cool. So hi everyone, thank you for joining. Really excited to have you here. So I'm Gili, originally from the suburbs of Philly. So that's my TikTok name, Gili from Philly. And I tend to be called that a lot in Tel Aviv. It's my little catchy name, Gili from Philly. And I recently opened a social media agency called Pink Chili, and I didn't rhyme it on purpose, it just happened. So Gili from Philly, who owns Pink Chili, and we do organic social media marketing, primarily focusing on TikTok. We work with a lot of tech startups and tech founders. And yeah, I'm really excited to have you all here. So thanks for coming.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
So awesome to have you, Gili. Hi, everyone. So great to be here with you guys. My name is Kirsten. So I run a financial, consulting account on TikTok myself, and I grew Grow and Arrow by accident on LinkedIn after getting demand from a few friends, and started helping out a few B2C companies, and then eventually evolved into the B2B space in terms of helping them with TikTok strategy. So grateful to be here with you guys, and let's rock and roll.
Yeah, Jamey and then Mike, if you guys want to introduce yourself.
Cool. First, thanks, Sven, for kind of organizing all this. I'm really, really excited. This is the first mastermind I've been a part of. So shout out to you for kind of bringing all the people together. But my name is Jamey. I'm the Chief Creative Officer and co-founder of a company called Deep Social Brands. Myself and my business partner, we work with mostly personal brands on the TikTok side of things. So we help take entrepreneurs who have never invested in organic social media and help them explode on TikTok to grow their businesses. We work with a couple big tech CEOs, people in the professional sports space, luxury real estate agents, doctors, surgeons, kind of just people with very unique stories and unique career paths. And we try to shine light on who they are so that they can then convert their audiences later.
What's going on, guys? I am Mike Rama, and first off, Sven, also thanks to you for putting this together. Really appreciate that. Hope you guys don't hear the phone ringing in the background. I think I got a package here. But yeah, my name is Mike Rama. I am the founder of Brands Meet Creators, and that's essentially what I do. I help brands to meet content creators, primarily TikTok focused. So on the brand side, we help brands who are in that stage of, hey, Mike, we want to get on TikTok. We know we need to do TikTok, but we don't really know what to do. And then on the content creator side, we help creators to find brands to work with, help pair them up, and help them to monetize through brand partnerships and UGC deals. I'm also a content creator myself, been making content on TikTok for, it's coming up on 2 years at this point, kind of in the creator economy and marketing space. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here today.
So thanks guys for introducing yourself. I will ask, most of you probably know me since you kind of registered through me. I'm Sven Muchow. I run a TikTok ads agency. We have D2C e-commerce businesses with their TikTok ads. And yeah, that's about it. I want to start with a question kind of to all four of you. Where do you see the biggest opportunity right now? So there's different content styles all the time. You know, there's trends like storytelling and all those different things, lifestyle content, like just more raw footage. Where do you see the biggest opportunity right now? Like in terms of what content do you see performing best right now?
I guess.
Mike, you can go.
All right. I'll kick it off. This is like a pretty broad answer to start it off, and then we can probably get into specifics. But the biggest thing right now is original content. So kind of like a shift away from trends. And yeah, more into this original content that truly provides value to someone. That's something that I've been focusing on a lot lately, is like, how can I bring something that is somewhat original to the platform, right? Like either a new idea or a new spin on things, or something that is going to make someone want to save it and share it and actually comment on it. And really moving away from the trends. I was never like too much of a trend person, like here and there, but especially with TikTok and just like the legal structure in general, just being more difficult with brands using the unlicensed sounds. I think there's just going to be kind of a broader shift away from trends and more into original content.
Yeah, I'm gonna second what Mike's talking about with original content. One of the things that I'm noticing is actually like crushing it for clients right now. And it's gonna sound obvious, but it's storytelling. But I'll kind of break it down a little bit further. So I've noticed that there's like a particular framework when it comes to storytelling that does better than most. And if you guys want to write this down, I'd actually recommend it, because it was a pretty big breakthrough for me, because I noticed it when we had a video get about 2 million views for a client within like 3 days. So what it is, you obviously you start with your hook. That's like the most obvious point. And the point of that hook is to drive curiosity so strong that there's an incentive to watch the entire video. So that's literally the only purpose of it, is drive curiosity. So that could be you start with a question. That could be you make such a bold, controversial statement that you have to watch the whole thing to see how much you disagree or agree with what the person is saying. From there, what you do is you then introduce some form of authority. So the example I'll use is we had a client in the yacht space, and he came out and said, I once sold a yacht to an American client in Monaco, and the yacht was bearing an American flag, and he trusted me to sell this yacht without him ever stepping foot on the boat. So the first kind of like couple seconds, we introduce kind of what the topic is about. We're selling a yacht in Monaco, introducing who it's for. It's the space of yachting. And then the authority statement is, he trusted me so much to sell this boat that he didn't even need to like show up. So the authority statement, and then right after your authority statement, introduce your problem. The problem that we introduced went like this. He said, and as my client was coming to the boat, I see the French Coast Guard. So we know that the introduction of like the French Coast Guard is like, now that's the problem. So we've done the three things: hook, authority statement, intro of problem. Right after that, you build your suspense. So in this video, I counted, I think it was 7 or 8 sentences in a row, added suspense. And it kind of went like this. It was, I saw the French Coast Guard. I knew that my client had never been on this boat, so I didn't want them to board the boat. I then see them coming towards our boat. I'm thinking, no, this can't be happening. Not right now. So we keep adding suspense. Eventually they get really close to our boat and they board us. So now it's like, now that you're building suspense, I can't swipe away. I'm stuck in this video. There's not a chance that I'm leaving. And it keeps going. They get onto our boat and they have some questions. They can't help but notice we have an American flag in Monaco. Are we supposed to be here? We give them our paperwork. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I hope everything's good. I hope they don't find anything that they're not supposed to, but I'm thinking we should be fine. Eventually, they look at my passport and they look at me and they recognize me from Instagram. And the whole boarding was smooth after that. So the whole like solution is the end part of it. So you build your suspense, and have a solution at the end that ties to some form of lesson. In this yacht broker case, the lesson was you should already know who I am, without exactly saying that. So we gained a lot of followers and a lot of comments from it. But that little framework of telling stories, you can apply that to a business that you're starting. You can apply that to your origin story of where you grew up and where you came from. Unique individual stories that have a relatable lesson or a lesson that people find interesting is what I've found has been like crushing it for clients as of late.
And I'll add on to that. I think that's super interesting. I think also kind of on a high level, zoom out, like Sven and I hosted a webinar last week, and I spent a good chunk of it explaining why Duolingo. I know everyone that meets a TikTok marketer is like, why is Duo doing well? What are they doing? What's their secret sauce? And people ask me, and Sven asked the question, like, what's going to be working now? I think Duo hit something that's so specific and so successful, and it's building a story, not just an individual TikToks, it's building a story in the entire profile. There's an antagonist, there's a protagonist, there's an archetype. You have Legal Steve, if you guys watch it, there's characters, there's conflict. Duo's in love with Dua Lipa, and we feel like we're part of something. And I said these exact words last time, but I really believe in it, is that we feel like we're a part of the story and that we're cheering on these characters. And I see that this is going to be a really strong content theme, and a lot of brands specifically are shifting to kind of building a plot and having their TikToks weave together to like form this, almost feels like a sitcom or like a personal little show just for TikTok viewers and audience.
Yeah, I got a follow-up question for Kirsten on that, because I know you work a lot with coaches and with, you know, marketers, those type of things. So, you know, basically all marketers or most people on LinkedIn, they know something great, right? I know some people know like financial education really well, and I mean, you bring that across really well. Obviously, you can't always have a story like the yacht, etc. So what's for you like the biggest difference between, for example, a marketer that's just on TikTok sharing like his top 3 hacks or something and getting, let's say, 500 views, and like a marketer like Jamey or Mike or all of y'all basically bringing information across and then, you know, getting thousands of views? Like aside from like big storytelling with yacht, etc., like on the small scale.
Yes. So something that is very prominent that I see in obviously successful educational creators is the fact that there is a strong connection with the audience, in the sense that they interweave who they are in terms of their own personal brand with the education. So there is an element, we could say, of subtle storytelling. It's not as obvious, but it's more about the transformational effect. So that point A to point B. So in terms of, this is where I was before. So for example, like Mike does an excellent job of showing this. He might not necessarily always say it, but you can see the transformation in the sense of how he shows it, and he weaves the education with a mix of the showing it in terms of the lifestyle, the transformation that this has brought into his own life. So that way it almost depicts a vision in your own mind of like, if this is what this platform has done, what can it do for me if I'm an aspiring creator, for example, like someone that's, and they're like, now I understand why I want to, you know, do this as a full-time thing, because it's essentially going to give me the same freedom of time, the freedom of exploring, you know, wherever I want in that aspect. So I would say that storytelling from more of the side of a personal brand and the transformation going from that point A to point B is where that can be interwoven in alongside with the education, because people, they don't really care as much why, you know, in terms of like what you're saying, but they need to know why it matters. And why are you the person to shed light on this? Why are you the person to speak on this? Why is what you're saying matters? And why are you the person to dive deep on it? So that's my 2 cents.
So you guys think a lot with the yacht story, for example. Telling it just in an empty room isn't enough anymore. You actually, now that the competition is high on TikTok, you gotta tell the story on a yacht. Is that Jamey? Is that what you're seeing? Like you need more going on in the background than just putting out a phone and like in front of a white wall?
No, I think ultimately what really matters is like how you deliver your content and how you tell your story. Like you could always kind of growth hack and have a mansion in the background or have yachts in the background. And that is an element that can get you initial attention. But I always look at things like that. What you're doing by having a beautiful background or having something stunning or crazy going on, like if you were sitting in a river and you carved out, and it was like frozen, you carved out a little space for you to like sit in the cold water and like deliver your message. That's going to hook my attention at the beginning, and that's going to capture my attention right away. But it's your quality of storytelling and your quality of communication that's actually going to keep me to stay. And so it might help a little bit. It might help a little bit in your location to get them at the beginning, but ultimately it's the substance of what you have to say and how you say it that's going to keep people. So that's one thing I'd add there.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'd also
I had
add
a-
there, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Wanted to really piggyback off of that is like also sometimes props really help. And I see Mike in the chat wrote like green screen is a great solution. Like TikTok is so scrappy, which is so awesome that like the scrappiest videos tend to do the best. And like sometimes if you just take a sip from your water bottle and then tell your story, or if a lot of girls will like put makeup on while they're telling the story, like sometimes you can just be in the most boring setting, but like what you're doing with your hands, the way you cut can like change the entire experience.
Mike with his pineapples is the best example of that.
Dude, I don't know. That just like seemed to work really well. And I actually got some more pineapple videos coming up. Jamey, Brendan's, he's working on editing those right now. But yeah, it's just like, if you can just like do something in the video, so it's not just like, you know, guy right on the screen. Not to say that that doesn't work. Like some of my best performing videos, there's literally nothing going on. It's me sitting on my couch. So like, it's not to say that that's not going to work, but every little thing you do will give you an advantage, right? If you can increase your watch time by an extra like 5% because you're like swinging around your coffee a little bit, right? Or just like whatever those little things are, they definitely will give you an advantage. But it does come back to like good content at the end of the day, right? Like I could be like juggling a pineapple, but like if my content, what I'm actually saying, like there's no substance there, it's not going to help at the end of the day. So I think like the visuals and like the motion and the props, these are all like the added bonus on top of the actual content, the actual story, the actual value that's being delivered. So like, yeah, the green screen's awesome. The, props are awesome. Motion's awesome. But that's kind of like the icing on the cake, right? That's how you get from like a B+ to now you're up to like an A+. But it's really like that content piece has to really be figured out as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And as somebody asked, the top 3 tips for just getting started for a relationship-based creator versus an idea-based creator. Yeah, so if you guys have a take on that, or do you want more clarification on what that means?
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, Ariel, maybe just like turn your mic on and explain that a little bit, just to help us out with that question.
Sure thing. So what I mean by relationship-based creator is like an Emma Chamberlain or an Elise Myers. Like her audience will watch her drink coffee or get out of bed in the morning. Like it literally doesn't matter what she's doing. Versus a Mr. Beast who's super out there, crazy ideas. There's always a scheme. There's a gimmick. There's something. I, like Kirsten, built an audience totally by accident on LinkedIn. I have about 43,000 followers and I have zero niche or like strategy to what I talk about or why I talk about it. But I have a community and there are themes that run through that. And so I would love to see if I could recreate something similar on TikTok, but it feels very intimidating. I have like 160 followers right now. So I'm pretty much starting from scratch, but I don't want to have to be like, I only talk about these 3 things and these are my pillars. I just want to talk and whoever wants to listen, but I don't know if that's a realistic goal. So that's why I'm here.
I have a question for you. And the only reason I say this is because I come from a very similar background and I used to have a compliance department in the financial sector. So when
like,
you're
I'm literally hoping that you guys can't see the logo on my shirt because I could get in trouble for even being in a recorded Zoom right now in workwear. My TikTok is going to be 100% personal. I would never, ever, ever be able to do anything like you do to talk about anything work related. So it's like literally I posted today about a pair of shoes that I'm feeling unsure about. And so I'm asking my people to like either tell me I look like a nerd and send them back or to hype me up so that I fall in love with them. So nothing work related.
Okay, so it would just be personal. In that case, anyone else can chime in because I'm more on the educational side.
It's a relationship building. Like I'm not allowed to post videos on LinkedIn. Video builds trust, familiarity, which brings me business. So I'm hoping that it'll translate into both places.
I'll just give a very general tip, which I give to a lot of my clients in a lot of consulting sessions, is that like I personally have a relationship building TikTok account. Like it's very like vlog, spend a morning with me, get ready with me, have coffee with me. I think the most important thing is, and I know a lot of people say this, so it's a little bit like a buzzword now, is just to like really be yourself. Like not trying to perform and like trying to get this, like when I'm in my old TikToks, when I scroll back, it was so performative. Like I thought that I had to be something. And now we're seeing that the more authentic, the more real, you know, the more like, as I said, scrappy, like it doesn't have to be this like picture perfect thing. Cause that's what relationship building is all about. It's the vulnerability, maybe pinning a few videos to the top of your profile to give context to who you are. So if someone's new and they're not really, you know, who are these characters? Who are these people? So you can just pin to kind of background of who you are, I would say. Anyone else? I feel like I could go on for this for a while, but there's a lot of different ways to like contextualize who you are and what community you're building.
Yeah, I think Ariel, one thing I'd mention is that a lot of people, I think, overthink what it is to niche down. I very much believe that when it comes to people like Emma Chamberlain, I used to be a massive Casey Neistat fan. You'll notice that their niche is themselves. You are the niche because no one has a life that is like you. No one has stories that is like you. No one has those little idiosyncrasies and quirks that are like you. And the beautiful part about making content like that is when you niche down on yourself, you become ultra relatable. Emma Chamberlain's content performs so well, even as she's grown, because she's ultra relatable. Oftentimes with large creators, you see a kind of paradox where they start making relatable content and then they gain millions and millions of followers and subscribers, and then their lifestyle completely changes. And now they have access to luxuries that the average person never did. So they become less and less relatable, but she's kind of that rare exception because she's even showing her struggles as she goes through that change. She's showing like herself and her own dealings of life. So I think just like one of the most beautiful things about content and just creating is like double down on everything that makes Ariel and all those things that make you, because you'll find that it's actually more relatable than you'd think, and it's actually more aspirational than you'd think as well.
Awesome.
Something briefly I just want to share that I've noticed in some of my personal branding clients that has worked really well when they started is identifying in terms of what it is that you ultimately want to be known for, not just like now, but like in the long term, in the sense like what's kind of we could say like the impact that you want to be known for. And this could be even just from making people feel more comfortable, you know, in terms of like authenticity or body image, in terms of when there are like we could say a few things that you're really passionate about, you're like, I could talk about this for hours with like margaritas. That's what you know is really something that's going to help you stand out in your content. Because at the end of the day, video is just energy transfer. Like people buy your passion, Ariel. And I know you have a lot of energy. You know, I've seen you on lives before. So I know there's things that, you know, you can get really fired up about. And the other thing I think that it helps is identifying what are some of, we could say like just life lessons and challenges and hurdles that you've overcome at some point in your journey, because these are things that universally a lot of people can relate to at different points in their life. So that's what I wanted to share.
I love the energy transmission. I think that's so true. Like when someone's excited in a TikTok, you feel it and you're like, I want to be there. I want to be part of that. I love that.
I think everything you guys just talked about, if any of you go to Jamey's or Mike's profile on TikTok, I think especially with them, they bring across like their personality really well, because they don't just talk about marketing or creators. I know Mike talks a lot about creator economy and all those things, but they both also talk about like their traveling, their digital nomad life. So like they bring all those things in there, not just marketing. So if you haven't yet, check them out. And there was also a question, how much of your content should be around, unless somebody else has something to add, how much of your content should be around selling rather than a message? So basically promoting like an event like this, how many TikToks out of 10 should be about the event? Or how should you promote the event? Like, should it be like a low key type of thing, or especially compared to LinkedIn maybe? Because I know a lot of people come from a LinkedIn background. So what's your guys' take on that?
I personally almost never sell in my TikToks. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that, but you'll rarely ever catch me like pitching something in there. A couple things that I would prefer to do is to subtly reference something, right? So let's use this event as an example, as opposed to me getting up there and say, hey guys, like big mastermind coming up on Monday, hit the link in my bio to register. I wouldn't do that. I would go the route of, hey, I'm going to tell a story. Let's say we're talking about this specific subject, right? Should you be pitching in your videos or not? I would give some value around that. And then I would reference like, this is something that we're going to be talking about on Monday at the mastermind, right? Like find a way, instead of to pitch it, find a way to reference it. Same thing with like, let's say you're trying to gain clients, right? Instead of talking about, hey, if you sign up, here's what I can do for you. It's more of like, okay, here's this thing that happened with my client last week, right? So now you're referencing like what your services are without ever having to pitch them. That's one thing. The second part too is potentially look into like getting something in a value ladder, right? So instead of like directly to your services, now you're pitching like whatever the free thing is, or whatever the step before. So yeah, that's how I think about pitching in content, pitching in TikToks. Like I rarely ever do it. I would much rather kind of like subtly reference what I'm doing.
I think compared to Kirsten has probably noticed that a lot. And Mike, I know you've been more active on LinkedIn too, so you might have noticed that too, is you actually have to do that. You can't just lead with a pitch, because a lot of people here are on LinkedIn, and there you have your tribe, like your friends, your supporters, the people who always comment. And on TikTok, for all of you that are not on TikTok, basically, your video always gets shown to strangers. There's like, I don't know what the exact math is, but it's like 3% of the views are follows. So you got to appeal to strangers. Like you don't have the supportive tribe that just comments. It doesn't work like LinkedIn. Yeah, and I'd like to hear that from Kirsten too, actually, because I know she's probably the most like fluent in TikTok and LinkedIn out of all of us in both. What's for you the biggest difference between a LinkedIn hook and a TikTok hook? Because you need a good hook on LinkedIn too, right? So what's the biggest difference?
That's a great question. I would say that LinkedIn, you can get away with making your hooks a little bit more niche, especially because there's a mass amount of people that already follow you, especially if they ring your bell, of people that are already familiar with what you do. You can go a little bit more niche and just speak directly who you're speaking to. And if this post performs well, I bet you will reach those second and third degree connections. And that's where you get the unfamiliar faces, the lurkers, the in-mails, and obviously potential inbound leads and clients. I would say on TikTok, mass audience hooks work better, because you do kind of have to break through the noise in terms of reaching a lot of people in order to eventually get to the decision makers. This is not to say you cannot reach people that are high net worth with less views, but it is just much easier to reach the people that you're trying to reach, in terms of when you use more of like mass audience hooks that appeal to a wider range of people, rather than just going niche and talking in terms of industry terms and jargon that most people may not understand.
You go more broad with your TikTok hook compared to your LinkedIn hook, basically, right? I take that as a yes. We had a question: what are the best times to post, and how often should you post? So I know a lot of people talk about that crazy 5 times a day bullshit. So what's your guys' opinion on how often?
I want to hear what Jamey has to say with his passionate opinion.
Yeah, I have a very passionate opinion. This is like one of my favorite questions to get asked, which is like, so I get asked pretty much every day, what is the best time to post on TikTok? You'll hear some people be like, oh, go to your analytics and see what time your audience is most active. TikTok is not Instagram. TikTok does not care about the times that you post. What it does is TikTok will push your content out on the For You page, and it will evaluate how that content performs to the audience that it will test it to. So if you post at 2 a.m, whoever is up at 2 a.m. is who that test group will be. And if it passes the metrics, then it will continue to get pushed. I've had viral posts at 3 a.m. I've had viral posts at 6 a.m. I've had viral posts at 12 p.m. There is no timing that is better than another on TikTok. It's just post. I made a post yesterday that I was very passionate about. On everyone is always asking me like, what's the best TikTok strategy? What should my hashtags be? What should like my posting schedule be? How do I rank on search? Those are all great questions to ask, but the first thing that you got to do is just post. Just post your content, and you will learn what works best for you through posting. You will not learn what works for you best by like coming up and like writing things in your journal and like trying to like hack the algorithm. Everything is coordinated after you like are posting and get to see what works and what's in a state of flow.
And how
I'll just-
often do you
sorry,
post?
Sven.
Or what's your, sorry, Gili, just because you're so passionate about, right? So I want to know how often do you post, or would you post if you were to start all over again?
As often as you possibly can, and the reason is I will stand on this hill and I will live there strong. Every problem that you could ever imagine in your life is solved by posting 1,000 TikToks. All of them, because 1,000 TikToks will give you more than enough data to understand like what my audience wants, how I like to communicate, how I become a better public speaker, how I become a better communicator. You will learn and get better at all those things after 1,000 TikToks. We also have this incredible land grab that currently exists of the greatest organic reach potential of all time. I have a rare opinion. A lot of people think TikTok's organic reach is going to go down over the next 24 months. I think it's going to go up because it's not a social media platform. It's an entertainment platform. It's like the television. You watch the television and you watch what you're facing, but 92% of people aren't creating on TikTok. 8% of people are the ones with the channel. So yeah, just like post as often as you can. You're more likely to hit a home run if you go up at 30 times than you are if you go once. So just give yourself the reps, like whatever that number is to you, just try to make that work.
So
Gili,
I gotta
interrupt. Oh, Mike, sorry.
no, Gili go first, and then I have opinion on the like the
No, Mike, go,
15-second
'cause
video
you-
question.
Jamey hit the nail on the head, so I want pass it back to you.
Okay. I'm just like going as I see stuff pop up in the chat, but is it best to stick to the 15-second videos? So here's my opinion on like video length. I know a lot of people kind of optimize toward shorter videos because one, they're easy to make, and oftentimes like they can get more views. Typically my videos are like a minute long. Like that's kind of like what I've been sticking to. And like, while yes, maybe a longer video will on average get less views, I think those touch points are so much more valuable. So it like really depends on what you're doing. But like if someone watched 1,000 videos of me and they were all like 6-second kind of like nonsense videos where it's just like either like a trend or like I'm doing the text on the screen thing, like yeah, there's really not much like substance there. Versus someone watches these videos where it's 90 seconds of me just delivering like knowledge and like expertise, right? That's why like a YouTube audience is so much more valuable than a TikTok audience right now, right? Because someone watches a full 20-minute video of me that is like taking them through this entire process. They now all of a sudden trust me way more than if someone saw 12 6-second videos of me that like there wasn't really much going on there. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that like you have to do like these like 7 to 15-second videos. Yeah, it's great to like sprinkle those in there every once in a while, right? You're just getting like more touch points. But I really like the longer videos, even if that's like a slower game and like you can put out less content and like maybe they don't get, they don't go like crazy viral or anything. Those touch points are just going to be worth a lot more in the long run.
And I'll just
Right.
add on there too, like it's something that I really emphasize a lot, that like taking the pressure away of making viral videos. Like some of my highest like converting TikToks or LinkedIn posts had like low views, right? Like just like Mike is saying, like when you're packing in so much like value into a piece of content and it's super high value or specific, and like you don't want it necessarily to go viral, you just want it to reach the right people. And I think it's really important to remember that in any content you do, honestly, whether it's LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, etc., is just like not putting the pressure of like, I think a lot of people are like, what time should I post? How many seconds should the video be? Should I post on Thursdays and Tuesdays? And at the end of the day, like, while that is a little bit important, like I always say content is king, and like good content will do well, and I'll get your message seen, and not to like put pressure on the like logistics.
And I think it's also important what Mike mentioned when he said, have those talking videos, not just trends. I don't know if that's interesting for any of you, but if you want brand deals and those type of things where maybe you run an ad for a brand, or maybe just promote it on your feed and get paid for that, right? If you don't have talking videos that do well, or don't have talking videos with different angles, like I'd look at your profile and immediately turn you down. So that's one of the key points. If you want to be like a creator, an actual TikTok creator, influencer, whatever, you need to have talking videos too.
Yeah, I'm gonna add on to
100%
what
agree.
Sven's saying. I find there's only ever two kinds of content that you can create. There's content that I call audience acquisition content, which you are putting that out there to try and acquire new eyeballs, new attention, new people coming to you that haven't seen you before. And then there's audience management, which is you take your community and you build deeper relationships with them. You need both to be a successful creator, and you need to understand how both work. Audience acquisition content is going to be more general. It's going to be a little bit more like spicy, if you will. And audience management is going to be very intimate. And if you don't have an intimate relationship with your audience, it's not going to convert well on brand deals. It's not going to convert well on trust. And then ultimately what that eventually leads to is you have creators that have a large community or a large following, but no depth. And then you have creators that have a small like following, a small community, but lots of depth. Meaning you could have 10,000 followers, but if those 10,000 people love you, that is so much better for business than 1 million people who have seen you a couple times.
100%. We had another question in chat. What's the most efficient way to plan content? Batch recording, scheduling. If you want to post 2 to 4 times per week, is it better to just create and then post, or should you also batch create? Should you always batch create? What do you guys do? What's your guys' practice? Is it always batching?
Here's what I do, and I've gone through a ton of different like iterations with what feels good to me and like what makes the most sense in terms of like workflow and also output. I actually do a combination of the two. So I will try to batch content, and I don't have like a specific day where it's like, okay, every Monday I batch content, or every like Wednesday. I kind of like, I plan out all my days the night before. So it's kind of just like, okay, when I'm running low or when I know I have like a big free day coming up, I'll batch out a ton of content. I also like to give myself room to like sprinkle in things when I just feel like in the moment, right? Because I notice a lot of my best performing videos are just when like I'm feeling passionate about something, right? Or I'm feeling like, oh, I just have that like vibe where I need to get this thing out right now. I need to film this. And so I won't limit myself to like, okay, I only film, Tuesdays between like 2 and 5. Like I'll do that where I'm batching content. But then also if, I just feel like, oh, I really feel like I should film some videos right now, right? I kind of have that like energy, I'll go for it. Or if there's something big that happens that like, oh, I need to make this video because it's a very timely thing, right? Like, oh, there's this big, like, TikTok got sued, right? I need to make this thing today. Like I'll give myself that flexibility to do that. So I like to do like a combination between the two, right? I have certain content that I'll batch, but then I'll also give myself the room to potentially just make a piece of content and post it immediately.
And it's something we see a lot with like brands. Like I work with a lot of startups that like really want to batch content a month ahead. And while that could work on other platforms, I always say that you, like just what Mike was saying, you need to leave room for like spontaneity, because like things can happen, a trend can pop up, a sound can go viral. And so I like to like make my content for my clients, for myself on a weekly basis. You have to be careful of not like, you don't want to bank of like 3 months worth of stuff that by the time you post them, they're like irrelevant and out of touch with the app.
Yeah, so what we do at our agency, it's funny, we kind of do the opposite. So we batch 1 to 3 months of content in a day. So we do either 30, 60, or 90 posts within a few hours. But what we try to make sure is that the topics that we are covering are evergreen. Evergreen meaning that they will always have relevance. So if I'm giving like advice on like human psychology, that's still relevant 3 months from today. I'm actually going to share my screen real quick because I think I have something that could really kind of help, which is we have like pillars of content that really, really help with this. So I'll kind of break them down. So if you're looking to batch content, there's kind of 6 universal pillars that you can always go through. So you have your origin story, which is anything from your past that led to a lesson that influenced your life today. Actionable advice. Those are actionable tips that you can give out. You've got stories and results. So like what Mike was talking about, how he would use stories and he would say, I had a client that went through this experience and this is how we solved that problem. You're introducing that you have like expertise without going for like a right hook asking for them. I call this grouping your audience. So that's like, look at yourself, like what communities do you want to talk to and figure out like, if I have a sports channel, well, I'm going to make something about, you know, for hockey fans, for baseball fans, for football fans, answering questions, just taking questions from wherever they go. And then I like this prompt. What do you hate about things and people in your industry? Just talking about pet peeves. When you kind of have those pillars of content, you can really come up with 2 ideas per pillar. And there you have 12. And that's like half a month of content. And I found that's been really, really efficient for us in terms of getting a lot of content done in a short period of time.
We have
I
a
want to-
question in the chat that I think is interesting. How do you handle negative feedback and do you guys respond? I'm curious what you guys think about that.
Yeah, so what I do in general on any platform is really either just ignore it. If you don't handle negative feedback really well, I just ignore it because then it's just going to affect your mental health, etc. What I like to do is just respond positively, honestly. Like that's just what works for me. I just always like if somebody says, you know, F you in the comments, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry you're having a bad day. You know, you might have heard that from Gary Vee before. And I just like the way because they never come back. Like they always apologize or delete their comment. They never do anything. I feel like on TikTok, you can also just respond with a video in a like explaining way, depending on what the comment is, or just in a more funny way. What do you think, Mike?
Here's one thing I'll add. I made a video on this a while ago, and first it's going to depend. Like you kind of have to check your situation and see like, okay, is this a video where like I'm getting hate comment like 50%, or is this like kind of this like 1 or 2 people who are a little bit maybe out of line, and you have like your core fan base who's going to like completely disagree with them and back you up. But one thing that I've done before when I get these comments that are kind of like out of left field, and like I know that like 98% of people who follow me and like watch my stuff are going to be more on my side and support it, I'll take that comment and actually just pin it. So then what that does is now it's like, okay, someone like they commented some like hate thing on my video, I pin that, and then what actually happens is like other people that support you kind of hop in and now defend you, and now you have this little comment war going on in your comments, which only adds engagement. It also kind of like elevates yourself as this like, I don't really care, right? Like I'm not going to go in and like delete hate comments. I'm actually going to like pin them to like make it even shown even more. So that's one thing you could do to handle it. Of course, I wouldn't do that if it's a video where you realize like, hey, maybe you were the one that was a little bit out of line, and like now the majority of these are turning into hate comments. That's like a slightly different situation. But if it's like these occasional like troll comments or whatever, yeah, pinning them is actually something that I've done before.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to go about it. I want to add one last question because we're kind of running out of time. What's your #1 tip? So what's the most important thing when you come up with a hook? Because that's obviously the most important thing to stop the scroll. We talked about it being more general. What else would you add? What's one thing each one of you would add? And whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I'll hop in real quick. Okay, Kirsten,
It's okay. You can go, Jamey. I'll go after if you want.
cool. I think one of my favorite kinds of hooks are, it's a rare one because it's very difficult to use, but I call it the positive negative statement. And one of my general philosophies is that people are always going to be happy to have problems. They just want to replace their current problems with a better set of new ones. And by that, what I mean is the example could be, if you are a personal trainer, you could say something along the lines of, if you simply follow this 8-week workout plan, you may have to spend a lot of money on new jeans. Or a financial planner could say something along the lines of like, if you just listen to my advice, it's going to take some work, but you're going to get so many clients that you may need a financial advisor to deal with the cash flow. Like, if you can figure out a way of like, what are the new problems that I am introducing by going through with this solution? I think those hooks have historically always crushed for our clients, and they're a lot of fun too.
Something that I would say is important in terms of with hooks to consider is like, I really like what Jamey was mentioning right now in terms of like positioning of communicating and psychology. Another thing I think to consider is the different types of hooks that you can implement in terms of your content. Like LinkedIn, a lot of times, especially in a text post, we just think the first line and that's it. However, TikTok, there's the opportunity for visual hooks in terms of verbal hooks, even how we use our voice. Our voice can be like a vocal image, the text hooks, the text on the screen. These little tiny details, I think, can actually make a big difference in how a message is perceived.
I'll add, like, this is really specific for more like lifestyle, but like if I'm gonna do like a shopping haul or I want to show something, like sometimes like a little bit of ASMR, like just dropping all the products on the table or just like holding a bag and drop, like sometimes like that like noise kind of like really hooks people in. Okay, like what's gonna happen, and then the energy comes with it. I think that's a really strong way to go about it.
The one thing that I will add is like, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Like we all have access to TikTok, right? We all have access to see like what are the top performing videos in each space, right? We have all have access to like everyone else's account. And there's so much just of this like data out there. So if you're kind of lost with like, okay, you know, how should I frame this, right? How should I structure this hook? Go to my account and see like what are the best hooks that I did, right? Go to Jamey's account, go type in like whatever your space is, see what are the top performing videos and see like, all right, like what hooks are doing well here. So there's so much like available information out there. And I feel like we don't necessarily take advantage of that enough, right? TikTok shows you like exactly what's doing well. So a lot of times, yeah, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. You can kind of just take something that's already working and put your own spin on it.
If everybody sends me their emails as well, or if there's a way for me to give this to Sven, I have like this 8-step framework of like all these different kinds of hooks that I made last week to kind of train our team. It's not something I sell, it's just something I'm helping our internal team with, and I'd be more than happy to kind of give you guys that, because I went through 8 different kinds of hooks and like gave examples as to why they work, and I'd love to get some feedback on it.
Yeah, I can send that out to everybody that's registered, because we had about, for this one, about 90 people. So there's a bunch of people that are going to watch the replay too. Or I can promote it. If you have a landing page with anything, I can promote it in an email for you too, whichever one you want.
Perfect. It's actually my modern marketing material. So I'd love to just get some feedback before, because I'm teaching next week, and I'd love to see if it's valuable and see if there's anything I could add.
Yeah, I'll message you on Instagram about it. We'll figure it out. Yeah, but that's time. We're a little bit over, and I don't want to take up everyone's time. So appreciate all of y'all coming. Yeah, people got